Ladies and gents, I am the one and only DJ Storms. Welcome back to the channel here on YouTube.com. It is Saturday, August 1st, 2020. Yeah, last month of summer for you people. 3 more weeks before I go back to college. Yes, in August. They're planning on starting it up on the 24th. And ending it on November 25th. Supposedly it's supposed to be all online, considering that we're not supposed to go back onto campus until we enter Phase 4, and New Jersey is only at Phase number 2. So hopefully that should give me the opportunity to keep up with the consistent brand work, keep up with the LFU, keep up with the rundowns, hopefully the rewinds as well. I know the rewinds definitely depend on whether or not the college work is overbearing, whether or not I have an overbearing amount of group projects, an overbearing amount of exams, an overbearing amount of assignments. I'll keep you guys updated there. But I'm actually set for a lot of collaborations this month. I've been collaborating with a lot of people as of lately. Shout out to ECW Chris 2408. The interview that we did from last week, that is currently doing very, very well on his channel. I do greatly appreciate the opportunity that he offered me. And then, of course, I actually do have an announcement. I'm actually appearing on Apron Bump Podcast later this month. You want to go follow Apron Bump Podcast on Twitter, it's at Apron Bump. I am guest starring on there with the host, the hardest part of the ring. Yes, that is the name of the host, the hardest part of the ring. And we are actually going to be dissecting Judgment Day 2001. Very, very interesting. I actually watched it. Pretty much a 3-match show. That's just my quick thoughts on it. Just a 3-match show. Still a decent show nonetheless. That was the post-Attitude Era going into the Invasion storyline with Stephanie McMahon and Shane owning WCW and ECW. I'm actually looking forward to talking with him. I spoke with him. He's a great guy. Definitely go listen to some of his podcasts. He does a lot of classic podcasts. And then, of course, we got the rundowns for TakeOver, the rundowns for SummerSlam, rundowns for Payback. Yes, Payback apparently is coming back. I'm not sure if WWE confirmed it or not. I did hear some news that WWE may have confirmed it, may not have confirmed it. I'm not really sure, but regardless, I'm kind of getting off track here. Before we get into the festivities here, I need you guys to do me a few favors. As always, you guys need to follow me on Twitter at HistoryMakerDJS, because of course, gotta find out why I am the best. I am the operator of the best damn Twitter handle known to mankind. I kind of butchered that line, but what are you gonna do? Follow me on Instagram and Periscope at DDJStorms. Add me on Facebook as well for collaborations and business inquiries. Please send me an email. My email is stormstakeover@gmail.com. Like the official DJ Storms business page, and I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms posse group on Facebook, that is. All the links are in the description. I need you guys to hit the thumbs up if you haven't already done so. I don't know what the fuck you're waiting for, but hit the fucking thumbs up. I got goals to reach. 20 likes, 25 likes, 30 likes. Hit the thumbs up. Come on, hit it. You know you want to. And when you hit that thumbs up, you got to comment down below. Because when you comment down below, then it spikes up the conversation. Tell me what were your thoughts on this week's weekly show reviews, and of course the news, rumors, and reports, which we'll be talking about first. And when you comment down below, you got to hit the subscribe button. You got to hit that subscribe button, because I'm trying to grow here. I mean, I can't grow if you guys don't hit the subscribe button. And of course, after you hit that subscribe button, you gotta hit the notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, it is the best time to be on YouTube. It's the only time you're gonna get to see this glorious sideburn chin strap combination and this beautiful mustache. I actually touched it up yesterday, but I don't know. I think I have to hang on one second. Here we go. I just gotta. There we go. No one's better. Let me just take a sip of my ice water in my EY mug. And last but not least, before we get into the festivities, I actually want to shout out my friend Bree from Colorado. She actually just graduated. Big congrats to her, and I wish her luck in everything that she's pursuing in the future. She's actually aspiring to be a pro wrestler. She's been a supporter of mine for over a year now, so big congrats to her. All the best for you, Bree, if you're watching. And ladies and gentlemen, I think you've heard enough of the brand advertisements and the self-brand promotion, blah, 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 blah. Why don't we get straight into the news, rumors, and reports? So, my first report comes from Alex McCarthy of Sportskeeda. And apparently, this is an update on Evolution 2. He reported WWE's considering running Evolution 2, and many inside the company believe it is a no-brainer, quote-unquote, to bring the event back. McCarthy also revealed people within WWE think the network special will more than likely take place later this year because of the company's reduced schedule as a result of the ongoing pandemic. So first, they wanted to do it, then they didn't want to do it, now they want to do it again. I am still sticking to what I said, and there's absolutely no reason to hold an Evolution 2, specifically because the current state of the women's division on Raw and SmackDown is the worst it's ever been. Evolution 1 wasn't even that good of a show. Evolution 1 was pretty much a 3-match show. There were 7 matches on that show, and outside of Io Shirai and Toni Storm, Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler, and that Match of the Year candidate with Becky and Charlotte, there was legitimately no reason for anyone to go out of their way to watch that show. That show was merely a show that everyone went into with no expectations, and it turned out better than expected. That doesn't mean it was a great show. I was actually scrolling up and down my Twitter timeline, and I actually was seeing people say that this was the best pay-per-view of the year. I'm not sure what you're smoking, but the only people that thought that this was the best pay-per-view of the year are these feminists, these social justice warriors, and then, of course, the idiots that actually spent their money to go to that show. The current state of the women's division right now is the worst it's ever been in the history of the company. When you have Charlotte Flair in the title picture for the majority of the year, when you have Nia Jax in multiple women's championship matches, and she's getting more TV time than Bianca Belair, when you have the Iconics in a women's tag team title match every other fucking week, when you fucking have a karaoke contest, Lacey Evans is botching left and right, yet you want to have an Evolution 2? If you want to have an Evolution 2, you may as well just have it with NXT. NXT is legitimately the only aspect of WWE in which women's wrestling is thriving. Hell, and NXT isn't even the same as it used to be. The tag team division in NXT is currently suffering. That's how I know Vince McMahon is taking over NXT. That's how I know he's starting to have his influence on NXT, because the tag team division sucks. Evolution 2. What reason is there to hold Evolution 2? Other than the fact that you merely just want to be the company to say that, hey, we're holding another all-women's pay-per-view. It's going to become a reoccurring thing. Why not actually build the women's division up as something important? The women's division doesn't feel important. Moving on. According to Dave Meltzer, by way of Chris Dees of Bodyslam.net, shout out to him, Vince McMahon apparently changed the finish to the Raw Women's title match again. And this is another thing, yet people want an Evolution 2, yet we're getting shitty endings to women's championship matches. Meltzer apparently stated, and I quote, originally Asuka was supposed to defend the title at SummerSlam against whoever injured Kairi, and that was as of last Sunday night or Monday morning of the tapings when they tore all that up, end quote. Asuka's championship reign's a fucking joke. It was a complete joke. 3 times. This is the 3rd time that Vince McMahon changed the finish to Asuka's Raw Women's Championship title defense. And it just goes to show you that Vince McMahon does not know what the fuck he's doing. He doesn't know what the fuck he wants to do. And on top of that, this just further proves the point that Asuka was never supposed to be champion to begin with. Asuka winning the championship was not in the plans. They only gave Asuka the championship because Kairi Sane was leaving, and they wanted to try and see if they could get her to stay because they're treating her friend Asuka like a queen because she's the Raw Women's Champion. That didn't work. And what happened? They took the title off Asuka. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. I feel so bad for Asuka. I really do. I feel so bad for Asuka. I really don't. And I don't even understand. I don't even understand what Vince McMahon's mentality was. If you were going to have Asuka defend the title at SummerSlam against whoever injured Kairi, then why did you all of a sudden think of an alternate ending, and why did you all of a sudden just completely change the plans? Why can't these people just stick to plans? That's what I don't understand. Now, I love Sasha, don't get me wrong. I love Sasha. I think Sasha deserves the absolute world. I think Sasha's one of the best women's wrestlers on the planet. She has busted her ex. She definitely deserves to be in the spotlight, no question. But at the end of the day, did Sasha Banks really need the Raw Women's Championship? No. No, she didn't. And I'm going to talk about that a little more. Originally, Asuka was supposed to defend the title against Charlotte. Those plans changed because Charlotte, she went away to have surgery on her breasts. And then all of a sudden, then Natalya slid into the plans, but she caught COVID because she's been out for a while. She was part of the 30-plus people that caught COVID. And then Shayna Baszler slid into the plans, but they're not doing that. They're shoving Shayna Baszler into a feud with Nia Jax. I have no idea what the fuck their mindset is. But the fact that he can't stick to a specific ending, it just goes to show you that Vince McMahon is hampering down the quality of his shows. This is nothing new. The grass is green, sky is blue, water is wet, and Vince McMahon constantly changes his mind. Speaking of Vince McMahon, and here's something that I legitimately lost my shit at. Alex McCarthy explained that Vince McMahon may be looking to change Aleister Black's gimmick as he feels it may limit him with how far he can go in the WWE. I'm just going to take a sip of my water. 1 second. Before I even read what Alex McCarthy stated, it's not that much, but before I even read it, how exactly is his gimmick going to limit him with how far he can go? Because you take a look at NXT, and he went higher than the fucking moon in NXT. Seriously. He was fucking higher than Bob Marley. Aleister Black, he was in NXT, and he won the NXT Championship, won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. He put on Match of the Year candidate after Match of the Year candidate with the likes of Velveteen Dream, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Adam Cole. Aleister Black had the same gimmick from the start in NXT. And there was never a problem. And don't give me the excuse that, oh, NXT and the main roster are two different audiences. They're all one and the same. They're all one and the same. It's all part of the WWE audience. No excuses there. And it all comes down to the booking and the production, as I always state. It's the booking and the production. And it's the simple fact that Triple H, he knows how to properly book and produce talent. Aleister Black was built to look like a superstar. He was booked to look like a superstar, whether it be in his matches, whether it be in his promos, and his entire aspect, his entire overall persona was produced to be a superstar. He is a WrestleMania main event caliber athlete. So much so, people actually compared his character to The Undertaker. People compared his character to The Undertaker, and The Undertaker is one of the most successful individuals. He is the most important character in the wrestling industry, period. So if Vince didn't sour on The Undertaker character, why is he souring on Aleister Black's character? It makes absolutely no sense. And on top of that, you take a look at Aleister Black on the main roster. He got a "This is Awesome" chant against Cesaro at Extreme Rules, which I was there live in the crowd for. And then, all of a sudden, he was placed with Buddy Murphy, and he actually got a standing ovation with Buddy Murphy on a Monday Night Raw. So, please tell me how his character is going to limit him when people were gravitating towards him back then. And people were as hot as ever for him. People wanted to see him succeed, so much so that people are on Twitter scrolling up and down my Twitter timeline, I see, why isn't Aleister Black in a more prominent role? Why isn't Aleister Black in a more prominent role? Why isn't Aleister Black a champion by now? Why is Aleister Black being shoehorned in a storyline with Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio? I scroll up and down my Twitter timeline and I see all of those questions being asked. But yet the character is going to hold him back. Yet these people are literally going out of their way to tweet that they want to see Aleister Black. Yet Vince McMahon is worried that the character is going to hamper him down. Yet he's received comparisons to The Undertaker. He has been booked perfectly in NXT. He received standing ovations and "This is Awesome" chants on the main roster in multiple case scenarios. People wanted to see him in more prominent roles, and people are clamoring for him to be booked better. Yet the character is going to limit him. Yet you're worried about the character limiting him. In what way has the character limited him? The character is not going to hold him back at all. If anything, the only thing holding him back is you. Vincent Kennedy McMahon, he's not watching this, but regardless, Vince McMahon is only the one holding him back. No one else. Management is holding him back. Management has been holding back God knows how many superstars. McCarthy stated Vince is a huge fan of the performer and of Tommy. Size, agility, skill, but he is worried the character is a gimmick that will limit him. Again, I am going to ask, I'm going to question, in what way? In what way? Literally, can anyone answer me? Can anyone give me a straightforward answer? How is the character going to limit Aleister Black if he's been compared to The Undertaker, which again is the most successful character in the history of wrestling, period? If he's been compared to The Undertaker, if he's received "This is Awesome" chants and standing ovations on the main roster and in NXT, it all comes down to how you book and produce the superstar. It has nothing to do with the character. What the fuck are you going to change his gimmick to? Aleister Black, before all of this started and before he got shoehorned into a feud with Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins, when he had this character, this aura, he was probably the best character on the main roster. He had this aura about him, and then you just completely killed it off. I have no idea what the fuck they're doing with Aleister Black, but you're telling me that this gimmick is holding back Aleister Black, who realistically should be the next WWE champion. Speaking of Seth Rollins and Aleister Black, Steve Carrier of Ringside News, he tweeted out a plethora of matches being discussed for Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. The tweet stated, and I quote, "SummerSlam news. We've been told Vince is still figuring it out. Black's injury is an angle. Dominic is in the mix. Vince has options for SummerSlam. Seth Rollins versus Dominic, and Rollins and Murphy versus Aleister and Dominic. Seth versus Owens is also being discussed. A lot is going on. Yep." End quote. The fact that they're still discussing these matches for SummerSlam is quite pathetic in its own right. If there's one thing that I will say, no Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. That is a lazy route to go. We do not need to see Seth Rollins and Owens again. We already saw that. Matter of fact, Owens should be being built up on his own to fight for the WWE Championship after SummerSlam. Owens has some momentum right now. He beat Angel Garza. He beat Seth Rollins. He beat Buddy Murphy. Keep that momentum going and have him fight whoever the WWE Champion is after SummerSlam. Owens should be being built up on his own. We don't need to see another match between Owens and Rollins and having Rollins get his win back. Dominic and Rollins, that does sound rather intriguing, but that doesn't really fit into the mold of building new stars. And what I mean by that is you're pretty much taking Dominic from level 1 and putting him at level 50 with a match with Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, kind of taking a spot away from someone like Murphy or Aleister Black or Kevin Owens, someone like that is more deserving of an opportunity, someone who's been on the roster consistently year-round. Now, if you want to include Dominic in the mix, I don't mind that. Black and Dominic versus Rollins and Murphy, that's probably the best route to go. It gets Black on the show, it gets Murphy on the show, and you can have Aleister Black and Dominic get the win by pinning Murphy. Rollins doesn't get pinned. They can get a measure of revenge. And then you could build up a match between Seth Rollins and Mysterio at the next pay-per-view. I'm not sure if it's going to be at Payback or if it's going to be at Clash of Champions. More likely than not, it'll probably be at Payback because it's a week after SummerSlam and WWE needs something to sell the pay-per-view on. It's not like they're going to get people to buy the pay-per-view anyway. You got this free version of the WWE Network anyway, so everyone's watching it for free. But there's no reason to have Dominic in this role this early. Dominic in a singles match with Rollins, that is really taking away from a person who's been on the roster year-round and has worked their ass off for an opportunity, yet they're shoehorning Dominic in there, taking a spot away from someone who's worked insanely hard to get to that position, and then Rollins and Owens, that's just a lazy rehash. No one needs to see that. Black and Dominic versus Rollins and Murphy is the best route to go. Black and Dominic get the win by pinning Murphy, and we get a rematch between Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins, which I believe will take place at Payback. WrestleVotes actually tweeted out that Payback will take place on August 30th, and that is going to be the network special, and that's pretty much that. I fully expect Rey Mysterio to sign a new deal, considering that, WWE, if Rey Mysterio leaves and goes to All Elite Wrestling, they are undoubtedly going to be petty towards Dominic, because that's what they do. That's what they do. This is interesting. This is interesting. Vince McMahon recently spoke to the shareholders about WWE's plan to improve the declining ratings. You're going to want to hear this. According to WrestleNomics, Vince stated, and I quote, this is like 4 paragraphs. So the first paragraph he stated, "We have a 30-plus year track record of creating compelling characters and engaging a variety of audiences, and we obviously remain confident we can continue that with our collective ability, even in the most challenging environments with no live audience." You have a 30-plus year track record? No. You had a 30-plus year track record. Because in the last half-decade, I have seen no effort to build up compelling characters. I have seen no effort to create engaging television towards a wide variety of audiences. All I've seen is you pushing people who you like. You pushing people because you want to push them. You writing storylines because you find them enjoyable, not because the audience finds them enjoyable. Maybe 10 years ago, you had that track record going, but recently, I have not seen that consistent track record at all. None whatsoever. And if you're gauging a wide variety of audiences and you remain confident you can continue that collective ability, why are the ratings so low? Why are the ratings so low? Maybe it's because of the fact that the characters are not compelling, the television shows aren't interesting whatsoever, they're not engaging a wide variety of audiences, and people are not watching. A lot of people aren't watching, actually. So he continues by saying, The media ecosystem obviously has changed. We change with it. No, you don't. No, you fucking don't. Bullshit. Bullshit. You're still running your company like it's the fucking 80s. You're still running your company with the mentality as if it's the 80s. You find it funny to mock the people that watch your show. You find it funny to mock the people that watch your show, and you treat us like morons. Week in and week out. You don't change with the times. You don't change with the media ecosystem. What are you spewing? And the sad part is that some people are actually going to believe this shit. He continues by saying our engagement metrics across platforms are understandably and obviously. However, the importance of linear programming is paramount in all of our businesses. We consistently have seen year-over-year increases in a variety of digital metrics and engagement, and positive trends have continued even during COVID. Really? What's the increase in? Because I've only seen decreases. Decreases in ratings, decreases in interest, decreases in positivity from the community. What increases? Maybe increases in social media metrics, but they're not talking about you because your product is interesting. They're talking about you because the product sucks and they're complaining. I'm one of them. So he continues, third paragraph, he continues, conversely, TV viewership trends have been negatively impacted by COVID, obviously, and the lack of a live audience. You're still blaming the pandemic and the lack of a live audience on the declining ratings. That's your excuse. Maybe that would have worked in March. Maybe that would have worked in April. Doesn't work anymore. That doesn't work anymore because if you take a look at NXT and All Elite Wrestling, they have actually maintained consistent viewership. Their viewership hasn't dipped below 600,000. They've maintained a viewership between 600,000 and 900,000. Maybe in March and April they started to dip, but now they've developed a consistent trend. No excuse. Pandemic and the lack of a live audience is not an excuse if All Elite Wrestling and NXT have maintained a consistent viewership. Meanwhile, Raw and SmackDown, they have gone down week by week, month by month. You take a look at Raw. Raw was at 2 million. Raw was at 2 million, 2.1 million. Now they're at 1.5, 1.6. SmackDown was at 2.5 million. Now they're at 1.9 million. Both of your main television programs are under 2 million. And they have been consistently dipping week by week, month by month. Meanwhile, NXT and All Elite Wrestling, they've remained consistent. It's not the pandemic anymore. It's not the lack of a live audience anymore. It's just the simple fact that the storylines, the characters, the matches, the feuds, the angles on Raw and SmackDown are not interesting. The only people that are watching Raw and SmackDown are A, the content creators, the podcasters, the YouTubers like myself who review the shows because they have audience members on their channels and podcasts, Twitch streams, whatever it may be. They have audience members that want to hear their stances on the shows. And then the second reason why people are watching is because they're plain flat out wrestling fans and it's a force of habit because nothing else is on. Meanwhile, baseball's back. Baseball's back. Hockey's back. And on top of that, NFL's going to come back. What are you going to do when the ratings continue to dip lower and lower? If the ratings are continuing to dip lower and lower on Raw and SmackDown, but yet they are remaining consistent, they're remaining consistent on NXT and All Elite Wrestling, you know that it's not the pandemic anymore. Stop acknowledging COVID. And here's another thing. You acknowledge COVID here to the shareholders, but you can't acknowledge COVID on television. You have to act like it doesn't exist. You have to act like everything's normal. So he continued by saying, we are still, nonetheless, the #1 television show on USA and consistently the #1 broadcast show on Friday nights among key demos. So that was probably like the only thing so far that he said that's true. They are still the #1 show on USA. Last paragraph, he states, we expect a combination of valuable promotional inventory from our TV partners with the return of sports events programming. Now, sports events programming is going to cause you to lose more viewerships, which is going to cause you to lose more money. And a deep roster of charismatic talent will have a positive impact on viewership over the long term. And that was the last thing he said. So you're talking about this deep roster of charismatic talent, but yet you are not giving them the opportunity to showcase this charismatic talent that they possess. And you script and micromanage these promos down to the very last letter, down to the very last breath that one of these individuals would take. You have Seth Rollins go out there and cut the same damn promo over and over and over again. How charismatic can he really be? And how engaging can he really be? How much of a positive impact can Rollins really have when he's saying the same thing over and over again for months on end? It's ridiculous. This is it's laughable. It really is. I really don't even know what else to say about it. It really is laughable. Stop blaming the declining ratings on COVID. Stop blaming it on the lack of a live audience. The reason why is because Raw and SmackDown suck. It is an indisputable fact. Shows are not good. And I don't care who the fuck you are. I don't care whether you're a content creator, a podcaster. I don't care if you're a wrestler. I don't care if you're a wrestling fan. I don't care how long you've been watching the product. I don't care if you say it's good or not. The show is not good. That is a fact. Just because you enjoyed it, I don't give a shit if you enjoyed it. Just because you enjoyed it doesn't mean it's truthfully or factually good. Just because you enjoyed it does not mean it's good. The simple fact of the matter is that a lot of people, and it's not just in professional wrestling, a lot of people in the world in general have lowered their standards and they just accept mediocrity for what it is. They accept trash for what it is and they deem it good. They praise it as if it's the greatest thing they've ever seen. Raw this past week sucked. Great wrestling on the show, and I'm going to talk about it right now. We're going to get into the weekly shows right now. Raw was not bad in terms of wrestling, but in terms of booking and production, the show sucked. Randy Orton kicked off Monday Night Raw. Legitimately, Monday Night Raw was a repeat of Extreme Rules. Great wrestling, shit booking. And it destroyed the show. So Randy Orton, he kicked off the show and he ran down his accomplishments. He says that he does whatever the hell he wants, whenever he wants to do it. And he says that he's noticed that something has been missing. He says he desires to be WWE Champion again. So he talked about Drew McIntyre, he talked about his firing, and he says that he has respect for Drew McIntyre. However, he says that Drew has something that he wants. He says he wants a WWE World Championship match at SummerSlam. And when he RKOs Drew, he'll never see it coming. This was very good promo here by Randy Orton, and the promo work between Orton and Drew over the next few weeks should be very, very, very interesting. I'm actually very excited to see the promo work between Orton and Drew. However, I do not feel as though Orton needs to win. And I'm going to talk about that when we get to the main event of the show. Speaking of which, this is the first time ever that I have taken 4 pages worth of notes for Monday Night Raw. Usually I take 2 pages, usually I take 2.5, but not today. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 full pages worth of notes for Monday Night Raw. So then Nia Jax comes out. So we go from Randy Orton to Nia Jax. And Randy Orton's walking up the stage. Nia Jax comes out. She says that she wants to be Raw Women's Champion before Shayna came out. And Shayna playing the role of the majority of the wrestling community. And Shayna says, nobody gives a damn what you want. Which is 1,000% true. So then a brawl broke out going into commercial. And then we got Nia and Shayna facing off later. I am not sure why they're doing this. I can only imagine it's because of the simple fact that they're continuing Asuka and Sasha Banks going into SummerSlam. And based off of the ending to the Raw Women's Championship match, it seems as though that's exactly the route that they're going with. And they're looking to put Shayna in an interim feud to build her up. But what happened later the night was probably an even bigger waste of time than every time Seth Rollins has been cutting a promo. So then we had the Viking Raiders versus Ricochet and Cedric Alexander versus Angel Garza and Andrade. Number one contenders, triple threat match. Winner faces the Street Profits at SummerSlam. And Garza and Andrade ended up winning. Here's what I don't understand. The match itself wasn't bad. It was very good for the 12 minutes that it was. I'm not going to deny that. It wasn't a bad wrestling match, but at the end of the day, why did you make this match when the Viking Raiders have been on a losing streak as of lately? Garza and Andrade already beat the Viking Raiders. Cedric Alexander and Ricochet, they only have one win underneath their belt, and that was last week when them and Mustafa Ali defeated the Hurt Business. And then Angel Garza and Andrade, they lost to the Street Profits last week. Why didn't you just have Angel Garza and Andrade face off against Ricochet and Cedric Alexander tonight without having them lose to the Street Profits last week? Then they would have gotten a third win in a row, so they would have beaten the Viking Raiders twice, and they would have beaten Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, and then you could have had them say, hey, we want a tag team title match at SummerSlam. There's no reason for a triple threat number one contenders match when they've done nothing to deserve it. And all of their momentum, all of these teams' momentums have been halted. The momentum of the Viking Raiders, halted. The momentum of Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, halted. The momentum of Angel Garza and Andrade, halted. There's no reason. Instead of actually building up momentum, you wouldn't have had to make this match. I'm not saying it was a bad match, but you could have easily avoided this. If you didn't give away the SummerSlam match between the Street Profits and Angel Garza and Andrade last week, if you didn't give away that match, and then if you had Ricochet and Cedric Alexander take on Andrade and Angel Garza, then you could have built momentum for them, and they would have been credible challengers for the Street Profits. So the Viking Raiders were in control going into commercial. Andrade with the double knees to Eric for a 2. Ricochet came in with a flying clothesline and a standing moonsault on Garza for a 2. Ivar with a clothesline to Cedric. Back elbow to Andrade. Big knee to Andrade by Eric. Garza stopped Eric in his tracks as he was going for a suicide dive. Ivar with a cannonball onto the pile. Wing clipper to Cedric. And Garza and Andrade win. They're going to SummerSlam, and they attack the Street Profits, who are on commentary after the match. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. This went 1 minute, less than a minute. And the brawl spilled out. The ref counted to 10, double count out. Baszler put a security guard in the Karafuda clutch. Jax shoved an official into Baszler, and Jax took out her frustrations on an official, as official refs held back Baszler. If you were going to book this type of ending, why did you even book the match on the show at all? These DQ non-finish endings between two superstars just to set up another match, it is such a tired, lame concept. I am sick of it. I'm legitimately sick of it. Why is Nia Jax throwing around Shayna Baszler? Why is Nia Jax, quote-unquote, bullying Shayna Baszler? And don't give me the piss-poor excuse, oh, Nia Jax is bigger than Shayna Baszler. I don't give a shit. Shayna Baszler is Shayna Baszler. This is the first ever two-time NXT Women's Champion. This is the woman that held the NXT Women's Championship for a combined 500 plus days. This is the same woman that won a fatal 4-way match at TakeOver New York on her own against Bianca Belair, Io Shirai, and Kairi Sane, 3 of the best women's wrestlers in the world. And you're telling me that that woman is being thrown around by Nia Jax? Shayna Baszler should have choked out Nia Jax in 45 seconds. I don't know why the fuck they're pushing Nia Jax. Nia Jax is a complete detriment to the women's division. She even may be worse than Alexa Bliss. And I don't even believe I'm saying that. She may be worse than Alexa Bliss. And that's saying something. At least, Alexa Bliss, she's a shitty worker, but at least she doesn't injure people. She just half-asses everything. If you were going to book this ending, you may as well not have even booked the match at all. I would have much rather have you saved the match for SummerSlam and given us a legit ending with Shayna Baszler coming out victorious. So Rollins and Murphy then came out to address Dominic and Rey Mysterio. Rollins says he's not in a great mood because Dominic is here. And he always says that the ugliness is that someone always gets hurt. Because whenever we take a step forward, we need to take a step back because someone wants to get in the way of the greater good. Rollins describing the WWE perfectly. Describing the WWE's booking system perfectly. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 1 step forward, 3 steps back. There's never any amount of consistency. So he says he doesn't want to be violent. He invites Dominic out to the ring. Dominic comes out. And he says he is here for Dominic. Dominic then does a beautiful double leg takedown and attacks Rollins and Murphy. Dominic actually does a better double leg takedown than Nia Jax. Go figure. So Rollins and Murphy, they regained control. Rollins was screaming, "What is wrong with you?" before Aleister Black finally came out of nowhere. I don't even know where the fuck he was. Where the fuck was Humberto Carrillo as well? Where the fuck was he? He was seen later on in the show. He actually took on Murphy later on in the show, but yet he wasn't shown here. If he was being embroiled in this feud with Rollins and Mysterio, why didn't he come out first? Why wasn't he out there from the moment Rollins and Murphy were putting the boots to Dominic? And then Aleister Black, so he finally came out. Humberto didn't even come out to save Aleister Black. Rollins and Murphy were too much for Black. Stomp on the floor to Aleister Black. Rollins says, "You know what you have to do to Murphy." He was slapping Murphy. He was saying, "Think about what this man has put you through." And then Murphy shoved Aleister Black's eye into the point of the steps. Dominic came in with a kendo stick and sent Rollins and Murphy packing. This wasn't a bad segment. I'm not going to tell you it was a bad segment. But the fact that Aleister Black is being treated this way, and his aura, his mystique, and his character is being wasted away in a feud with Seth Rollins, and he's being sacrificed for Seth Rollins, it pisses me off. It pisses me off that he's being placed in this storyline with Rollins and Murphy when he realistically should be being built up to win the Royal Rumble and face Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania 37. I really don't understand. And Humberto Carrillo didn't even come out to help. I can only imagine this leads to Dominic and Aleister Black versus Rollins and Murphy. Again, that's probably the best route to go for the storyline for SummerSlam. Black and Dominic beat Rollins and Murphy by pinning Murphy. And then we get a payback rematch between Mysterio and Rollins. Or you could possibly do it at Clash of Champions. And Mysterio finally gets his revenge. And Mysterio, he could be built up to face off against Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. So MVP hosts the VIP Lounge with Mustafa Ali. Ali says that he's happy to be on Raw and he's happy to become a champion, a real champion, obviously mocking MVP because MVP is a self-proclaimed champion. MVP says it all comes down to Ali making the right decisions. He says you can either join them or join Apollo Crews sitting on his couch. So Truth came out. He tried to jump Shelton Benjamin, but failed miserably. And then we go into commercial. He tried to win the 24/7 championship from Shelton Benjamin, and he failed miserably going into commercial. You telling me you couldn't have just booked the match between him and Lashley? Really? Why do we need the VIP lounge? These WWE superstar-inspired talk shows, the VIP lounge, A Moment of Bliss, the Kevin Owens show, Miz TV, one of the most worthless things on WWE television right now. If I was to abolish something, I would abolish these original WWE superstar talk shows. Enough of the talking. Get to the action. It's World Wrestling Entertainment. You're the biggest wrestling company in the world. Stick to wrestling. Enough of the talk. We are enough talking. So we actually got a good match here between Mustafa and Lashley. I'm not going to bullshit you. It wasn't a bad match. Again, not a bad match, but Mustafa Ali loses. Mustafa Ali loses. Lashley, he was dominating Ali before Tozawa and his ninjas came for Benjamin, and Benjamin, MVP, and Lashley attacked Tozawa and the ninjas. They got to get rid of this fucking Jackie Chan bullshit. I'm telling you, they really need to get rid of it. So, Mustafa with a suicide dive, taking out Lashley. Lashley tossed Mustafa into the turnbuckle, elevated flatliner for a 2. Ali with the tornado DDT out of the corner. Ali missed the 450. He got trapped in the full Nelson, and he tapped out. And that's it. Good match, but I don't give a shit who you are. It is too late for Bobby Lashley. I don't give a shit how good Lashley's looked. I don't give a shit how intense he's looked in the last 2 months. I don't give a shit how dominant he's looked in the last 2 months. I don't give a shit. Lashley is not going to be taken seriously as a credible singles competitor, especially not after that wedding. Not after that wedding in December. That's all that I see when I look at Bobby Lashley. It is too little, too late for Bobby Lashley. Oh, and you're pushing new stars, aren't you? You're pushing new stars, aren't you? But Mustafa Ali loses. Mustafa Ali loses to Bobby Lashley, but yet you're pushing new stars. Is there no such thing as momentum? There's no such thing as momentum. Mustafa Ali and company beat the Hurt Business, which is a terrible name, by the way. Terrible name for their faction. I mean, it sounds like a name that a 4th grade bully would give his friend group. Oh yeah, give me your lunch, pipsqueak, or you're gonna have to deal with the Hurt Business. So that's a terrible name in its own right. Side note there. That's a terrible name in its own right. Mustafa Ali, he returns last week. The Hurt Business lose, and then this week, Bobby Lashley beats Mustafa Ali. How is anyone supposed to know who to cheer for, who to boo for, who to get behind, who to invest their time in? And then I see some of these morons on Twitter trying to defend the concept of 50-50 booking. What positives does 50-50 booking have? It does not help build feuds. It does not help build programs. It does not help build tension. 50-50 booking is one of the lamest, most overplayed concepts in WWE and in the wrestling industry right now. 50-50 booking is detrimental to building superstars. There's no sense of momentum. You need to consistently win in order to gain momentum. This is why no one is over. This is why no one in the wrestling community invests their time in anyone on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. It's because of the fact that they're winning one night, they're losing one night, then they're taken off of television, then they're on television, and then they win, and then next week they're on television, and then they lose. No one feels special. No one feels interesting. No one feels important. You need to consistently win and consistently gain momentum. Why is Drew McIntyre so special right now? Why does Drew McIntyre feel like he's a big deal? Because he's been consistently winning. Same thing with Randy Orton. He's been consistently winning. Sasha Banks and Bayley, consistently winning. That's what you need to do. If you are not going to establish someone, then leave them off of TV for a week and then have them come back the next week and start winning. You need to establish momentum. This is not going to do anything for Mustafa. This is not going to do anything for Bobby Lashley. This is just 50-50 booking at its finest. It's not going to help. I don't give a shit how big Bobby Lashley is. I don't give a shit how powerful Bobby Lashley is. Bobby Lashley's not going to be taken seriously. And now Mustafa Ali has already lost on Monday Night Raw. So now you've wasted all of the momentum and you've wasted all of the hype that he gained when he returned. 50-50 booking is not a concept that helps anything. 50-50 booking kills your show. Establish momentum. Establish consistent wins. Oh, and here we go. Sasha Banks and Asuka. Another one. Literally, a repeat from Extreme Rules. Great match. Shitty ending. So, Sasha Banks and Bayley come out and they claim that Stephanie McMahon is jealous because they are running the company. Bayley said it's time for Sasha to tap out Asuka, the Empress of Nothing. Now, some people were claiming that this could lead to a potential Stephanie McMahon versus Bayley match. I hope not. I really do hope not. So, the match begins. Sasha tried to get Asuka disqualified by pulling in Eddie Guerrero with the title. The ref caught her. Asuka with a nasty roundhouse kick right to the side of the head. Looked brutal. So, then we had Banks with a Meteora for a 2. Sasha targeted the left leg of Asuka. Asuka with a code breaker to Sasha. Big German suplex and a hip attack for a 2. Banks with a beautiful frog splash for another close 2 count. And then she immediately locked in the Banks statement, but Asuka was able to reverse. Banks with a leg trap shin breaker on the announce table. She was trying for the count out win, but Asuka broke the count. Banks statement locked in again. Asuka reversed into an ankle lock. Asuka with a missile drop kick from the middle rope. And then, all of a sudden, a camera is shown on... A cameraman was recording Bayley and Kairi Sane in the back brawling. Asuka was watching. Kairi Sane was getting her neck slammed into the garage door. She was screaming for Asuka, and Asuka she got out. She got out of the ring and just ran to the back. Ran to the back to try and help Kairi, and she was watching the screen and not focusing on the match, and Asuka just left. Sasha wins via countout, and Sasha wins the Raw Women's Championship. I really don't even know where to begin. It's legitimately like... It's like they're watching this match and they're like, oh my god, it's a great match. No, we can't have that. We can't have that. No, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have Kairi Sane get beaten up by Bayley. And we're going to have Asuka run away looking like an idiot. It's like they can't help themselves. It's legitimately like they can't help themselves. They need to put a shitty ending in there. It's like they legitimately want us to complain. What sense does it make that Asuka is watching the screen instead of paying attention to the match? And don't give me this bullshit, oh, Asuka's looking out for her friend. It's a championship match. This concept of distractions outside of the ring when someone's paying attention to someone around ringside, or someone's paying attention to something on the Titantron, and a cameraman is just randomly recording something. Kevin Dunn is just randomly recording a brawl between Bayley and Kairi Sane, and now Bayley's getting involved, or Kairi Sane's getting involved. This concept of someone getting involved during matches like these, it's such an overplayed concept. This is another concept that needs to die. It needs to be abolished. Get rid of these mid-match interferences and mid-match distractions, because they make the competitor that's being distracted look like a complete retard. Pardon my language, but it's true. Asuka looked as dumb as a 3-year-old in pre-K eating pencil shavings. Now what? We're probably going to get another match. We're going to get a third match between these two. A third match inside of a month at SummerSlam. If you were going to give Sasha Banks the Raw Women's Championship to begin with, then you should have just given it to her at Extreme Rules. That way, we wouldn't have had to sit through not one, but 2 shitty, overly convoluted, complex endings, And on top of that, we would have gotten 2 great matches, one at Extreme Rules, one at SummerSlam, and that would have been the end of it. Now what? Stephanie McMahon's probably going to make the rematch, and we're probably going to get Stephanie versus Bayley. Probably going to get Asuka and Sasha, and Asuka's probably going to win the championship back. Guarantee you, Asuka wins the championship back. Humberto Carrillo versus Murphy. And Humberto was nowhere to be found during that brawl earlier in the show. Murphy wins. Who cares? Murphy wins with a V-trigger and Murphy's Law. Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler was next. So Drew picked up the mic and he said that it's official at SummerSlam. It would be Drew versus Orton. And then he says, you'll see the damn Claymore coming. So Ziggler came out. Drew selected an Extreme Rules match. Drew was tossing chairs in the ring. He pulled the table out. Dolph took advantage, hit a low blow on Drew. Dolph used the kendo stick to wear down Drew. Drew picked up Dolph, drove him through the barricade, coming back from commercial. Drew, with a diving clothesline, Drew with a superplex, zigzag out of nowhere for a 2. Drew hit a Claymore, sending Dolph through a table for the win. Decent match, but we saw it at Extreme Rules. Matter of fact, I'm still wondering why you couldn't have just done this match at Extreme Rules. Why you couldn't have made the Extreme Rules match in advance. You couldn't have made the Extreme Rules match in advance. And then you could have promoted it for the weeks leading up to Extreme Rules, and we would have gotten the match at Extreme Rules. We wouldn't have gotten this shitty chicken shit heel stipulation. We wouldn't have had to see it again. It would have worked out a hell of a lot better. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this. With Murphy and Humberto, I forgot to mention this. Was Murphy the only legitimate new star that Vince decided to push on Raw? Correct me if I'm wrong. Because you had Nia Jax standing tall over Shayna Baszler. You had Bobby Lashley going over Ali. Randy Orton's challenging for the WWE Championship. And don't get me wrong, I love Randy Orton. He's doing some of the best work of his career. But again, you want to push new stars, yet Randy Orton's challenging for the WWE Championship. Was Murphy the only star that Vince decided to push that was new? So Drew McIntyre beats Dolph Ziggler. Goodbye, Dolph. So he gets RKO'd out of nowhere, and Orton held up the WWE title over Drew to end the show. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. Randy Orton does not need to win. And you can go on and on about how some people are saying that, oh, Randy Orton is coming off the greatest wrestling match ever. He's being dubbed as the greatest wrestler ever. You do realize that it's bullshit. They only put that title on the match, and they only put that title on Randy Orton to mock the audience because the majority of the audience critically destroyed the last man standing match between Edge and Orton at WrestleMania Night 2. It's Randy Orton. Realistically speaking, is Randy Orton going to lose any credibility? No. Is Randy Orton going to be looked at any differently by the WWE Universe? No. He's Randy Orton. He's already established. He's won the Royal Rumble twice. Won Money in the Bank. He's defeated some of the biggest, baddest superstars in the company. He's won every title there is to win in the WWE. Randy Orton is already established. Randy Orton should be putting people over. Randy Orton is already going into a feud with Edge. Randy Orton is going to take on Edge, whether it be in the fall or whether it be at WrestleMania next year. Edge is going to be the judge, jury, and executioner for Randy Orton. Randy Orton right now he's in a position where he needs to put over Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre should not be losing the WWE Championship at SummerSlam. Drew McIntyre should not be losing the WWE Championship at all this year. Drew McIntyre needs to go into WrestleMania 37 next year, and he needs to face off against Aleister Black. Aleister Black needs to win the Royal Rumble, and Aleister Black needs to defeat Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, again, he's in the same position that Rhea Ripley was in before Rhea Ripley was fed to Charlotte Flair. You need to use the momentum, the legitimacy, and the credibility that Drew McIntyre has to build up a new star. And you have that new star build up in Aleister Black. Randy Orton, while it's going to tell a great story with Edge coming back and winning the WWE Championship, the feud and the storyline and Orton himself does not need the championship. Orton is not going to lose any credibility if he takes a loss against Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre is going to lose all of that legitimacy that was built up since late last year. Drew McIntyre cannot lose the WWE Championship. Orton cannot win. Orton does not need to win. Orton should not win. He's not going to lose any credibility. No one's going to look at Orton any differently. Orton will be just fine. Drew needs to come out victorious. Decent wrestling on the show, but at the end of the day, who cares? Nothing made sense on the show. AEW Dark. This wasn't a bad show. AEW Dark, they did a good job at advancing some records. And we did get some decent matches on the show, but the 12-match format is insanely overbearing. They really need to just stick to 5 to 6 matches on the show. I actually took a look at AEW Dark for next week, and they actually have some decent matches lined up for next week, but they really need to hamper down the matches. There's no need for 10, 11, 12 matches on AEW Dark. It's becoming very overbearing, especially considering all the content that we have on during the week as far as wrestling goes. So, started off with The Initiative, Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon, the best thing on AEW Dark right now, taking on FTR. So, Cutler and Avalon with a double team flapjack on Cash Wheeler. So they isolated Cash. FTR, they were able to regain control. Avalon, he got the hot tag. Beautiful split-legged moonsault for a 2 on, I believe it was on Harwood. So Harwood with a clothesline turning Avalon inside out. We had a spike pile driver for the win. And FTR win. Damn good tag team match right here between The Initiative and FTR. I'm really liking The Initiative. The underdog tag team known as Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon, they're really starting to grow on me. And I really would not mind if they are in the tag team title hunt, probably in 2021. They can start getting some wins behind them. FTR, I can definitely see FTR challenging for the tag team titles before the end of the year. While it will be great, I feel as though that's a little too predictable, and I don't really feel as though FTR need to be in that position yet. They're not in the top 5 rankings yet, but I do have a feeling they'll be challenging for the championship at some point. Michael Nakazawa and Pineapple Pete versus Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela. This was a complete waste of time. Barely even paid attention to this. All I know is that Kiss and Janela win with the split-legged splash. Michael Nakazawa is an absolute detriment to the AEW roster. I do not want to see him on television in any capacity, whether it be on Dynamite or Dark, Sonny Kiss included. Skylar Moore versus Abaddon. Oh, this was interesting, and I'll tell you why. So Skylar Moore hit a DDT. Abaddon, she sat up like the Undertaker and snapped her neck. Moore got hit with the Widow's Peak for the 1-2-3. Let me tell you something. The gimmick is there. But Abaddon is not a good professional wrestler. At all. She is sloppy. She's uncoordinated. Her offense is not intense. It's not crisp. It's not fluid. She's all over the place. And I really don't give a shit if that's part of the gimmick or not. You can have the gimmick, but if you're not crisp, if you're not fluid, if you're not intense, if you're not good in the ring, especially in 2020, this is all elite wrestling. This is not the WWE when they're going to push you strictly on your looks. And even then, WWE wouldn't push Abaddon strictly on her character looks. It's 2020. This isn't the Attitude Era where we have 20, 25 people with wacky over-the-top gimmicks. The gimmick is fine. The gimmick is there. But she is not a good professional wrestler at all. And here's the funny part about it. I had some fucking losers. I had these fucking losers, like 8 of these fucking losers coming into my mentions telling me I don't know what the fuck wrestling's all about. So much so that one of these fucking losers, I can't even remember what his name was. Probably one of these losers with like not even 200 followers. One of these losers telling me that I don't know what the fuck professional wrestling's all about. Meanwhile, it's 2020. Yes, I fucking know what professional wrestling's all about. This is all elite wrestling. If you can't wrestle, then you're not going far. I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you right now, these people, oh my God. I'm literally like going to lose my shit talking about these people. But one of these losers telling me I don't know what the fuck wrestling's all about. So much so that Abaddon herself actually liked this poor bastard's tweet. Abaddon herself actually liked this poor bastard's tweet. Abaddon, babe, my little demon. She's probably not watching. She probably doesn't even know who the fuck I am. But Abaddon, babe. If you have to like some loser's tweet, some loser who's probably a 600-pound jobless slob stuffing his face with chicken McNuggets and Big Macs, if you have to like a person's tweet like that, could you, like, literally, could you make it any more obvious that you're insecure? Could you make it any more obvious that you are insecure as fuck? And on top of that, these like 8 or 9 fucking morons that were coming into my mentions telling me that I don't know what the fuck wrestling's all about. Here's a question that I'd like to ask all of you. If what I said was wrong, if what I said wasn't true, why are you getting so mad? I'm waiting. Why are you getting so mad? If what I said wasn't true, then wouldn't you getting mad be completely pointless? Because if I was wrong, wouldn't you just leave me alone and wouldn't you just move on with your day? If I was wrong, what reason do you have to get mad? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you. You're mad because you know that I'm right and you can't do a fucking thing about it. You're mad because I'm right and you can't touch me. You're mad because I'm right and you know it and you have no information. You have no legitimate information to prove me wrong. So what do? You throw hissy fits in my mentions. Tell me I don't know what the fuck wrestling's all about. The Widow's Peak looked nice that Abaddon delivered, but other than that, she is sloppy as shit. And I don't know what the fuck happened because I saw her wrestle Hakarushida back in March, and she was actually decent back then. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure if it was the quarantine that took an effect on her. I'm not sure what is it that happened here, but she is not a good wrestler whatsoever. Not crisp, not fluid, not intense. She needs to work on it. And if she does, then you know what? I'm going to say, hey, you know what? She improved. Until then, she sucks. Get over it. She sucks. And again, Abaddon, please, don't make it so obvious next time that you're insecure. Don't make it obvious next time that you are thin-skinned. Please, liking one of these fucking losers' tweets, as if that's going to do anything, as if that's going to help you improve your shitty in-ring ability. Dark Order versus Will Hobbs and Shawn Dean. So Shawn Dean's actually very impressive. Shawn Dean with the Tope Con Hero taking out Grayson. Hobbs got the hot tag. Big spinebuster to Evil Uno. Power slam to Grayson. Hobbs is physically impressive as well. Nightfall to Hobbs, and then the fatality to Shawn Dean for the win. Dark Order get the win going into their tag team title match against Hangman and Kenny on Dynamite. Then we got Scorpio Sky versus Corey Hollis. Hollis with an impressive stun dog millionaire. He went for a diving headbutt, but Sky got his feet up. Sky got the TKO for the win. Sky gets, I believe, his 7th win in a row, if I'm not mistaken. He got his 7th win in a row, and now Sky is moving up in the ranks. So I can definitely see Scorpio Sky challenging for the TNT Championship, potentially at All Out or maybe after All Out. Maybe with all of these wins, maybe he challenges for the World Championship. We don't know. MJF certainly needs some baby faces to feud with. I can definitely see him feuding with Scorpio Sky with all of these wins that Scorpio Sky's getting. And I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. I think Scorpio Sky and MJF would put on a damn good fucking match right there. I think that we could actually get a very innovative match, and Scorpio Sky is going to get a big platform to shine. So, good on Scorpio Sky. Kenzie Page versus Penelope Ford. Nothing too crazy here. Fisherman suplex for the win. Penelope Ford rebounds off of her loss against Hikaru Shida at Fyter Fest. Aaron Solo versus Wardlow. Wardlow just absolutely fucking destroyed Solo. He dropped Solo from the middle rope and dropped him right into a big knee. Solo was out, and then he delivered 2 F10s to Solo afterwards. Just absolutely wrecked the poor bastard. Wardlow is really being built up to look like a monster. Again, once MJF loses the World Championship, I would not mind MJF and Wardlow facing off against the tag team champions and potentially winning the tag team titles whatsoever. I really wouldn't. John Silver and Alex Reynolds versus Best Friends. Silver and Reynolds, they took over control. Big enziguri, stunner, and German suplex combo on Trent for a near fall. Swift moves right there by Dark Order, Silver, and Reynolds. We had military press by John Silver, I believe it was. John Silver is actually a physically impressive dude. So near fall right there. Taylor, he got taken out by Reynolds. German suplexes on Trent. Reverse Death Valley driver for a 2 count before Taylor got the hot tag. Big Falcon Arrow for a close 2 count. Trent took out Reynolds, I believe it was. And then we had Taylor hitting the Awful Waffle, which is a terrible move. A terrible name for the move. The move looks brutal. The name's terrible. Awful Waffle connects for the win. This was actually a very good tag team match for like the 8 minutes that it was. Silver and Reynolds, they're really not going anywhere, especially not in the Dark Order. The only people that are going places in the Dark Order are Grayson, Uno, and Brody Lee, but I'm telling you, Silver and Reynolds are a very, very underrated tag team. They are a very underrated tag team. I think it's about time that they start getting the appreciation that they deserve. Frankie Thomas versus Lance Archer. Archer wins with the EBD claw. Destroys him. And I absolutely love Lance Archer destroying random dudes. Literally, this is my new favorite thing on AEW Dark. Lance Archer just destroying a random bum. Throwing people into the ceiling. Throwing people into trash cans. I love it. I believe right now they're biding their time with Lance Archer. And I believe that they are going to put Lance Archer in a feud with Jon Moxley. That is going to take place after All Out, when Moxley loses the World Championship. And that's going to be Lance Archer's first major feud after the TNT Championship loss to Cody. And we're going to have Lance Archer and Jon Moxley at Full Gear to end the year. And Lance Archer is going to be built up to face off against possibly Hangman Adam Page for the World Championship by the end of 2021. But I feel as though they're biding their time and they're planning a feud between Moxley and Archer. They've also been teasing it on social media. Archer's been calling out Moxley. Orange Cassidy versus Serpentico. Quick match right here. Cassidy wins with a roll-up. And that was pretty much that. Cassidy and Jericho, they're set for a rematch, actually, on August 12th at Dynamite. Fuego del Sol versus Sammy Guevara. Very short academic stuff right here. Sammy wins with the Go to Hospital, and that's it. Sammy Guevara, I can definitely see challenging for the TNT Championship very, very soon. SCU and Private Party and Proud and Powerful. Triple Threat Tag Team Main Event. This is a very fun match right here. We had SCU taking out Proud and Powerful for the time being. Private Party took over control, stomped to the back of the head. Proud and Powerful with a powerbomb roundhouse kick combination for a 2. Mark Quinn came in, big tope to Proud and Powerful, silly string DDT to Ortiz, big splash and a leg drop combination in tribute to the Hardy Boys. Nice tribute right there by Private Party. We had Santana pulling the ref out. Daniels hit Santana with a Blue Thunder Bomb, stunner by Ortiz, DDT by Kazarian. Cassidy with a facebuster on Kazarian, tope on Daniels. But Ortiz hit a low blow to, I believe it was Mark Quinn, behind the referee's back and rolled him up for the win. Very fun match here, and Proud and Powerful, they get the win here. I can definitely see Proud and Powerful possibly being built up for a tag team title match against Kenny and Hangman, especially after what happened at the Dynamite this past Wednesday with the Dark Order. And the fact that they didn't win the tag team titles, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But fun main event here, and that was pretty much that. We got some decent wrestling, but again, the format of AEW Dark and the fact that they're doing 10, 11, 12 matches, they need to end that. It's not a very good format whatsoever, and it's really hampering down the show. It's just too much. This AEW Dark was 2 hours. It's just too much. It really is. Dynamite this week. It was a damn good show. I would say so. Damn good show here by Dynamite. Not as good as last week. Last week's was pay-per-view worthy. Last week's was almost flawless. This week had a lot more flaws. We're going to go over it. But all in all, still damn good. Not as good as last week. It's very hard to top a show like we saw last week. But this show, it focused mainly on the storylines leading into All Out. We do have an announcement on the women's tag team tournament, the Deadly Draw, which is starting up next Monday. I will be covering that, just so you know. So Dynamite started off with the Inner Circle versus the Best Friends, Jurassic Express, and Orange Cassidy. Everyone was just diving on everyone to start off the match. Moonsaults and topes and planchas. Luchasaurus and Hager, they squared off. We had the Best Friends taking out Proud and Powerful. Jungle Boy with a backstabber to Jericho. Sammy with the Shining Wizard. Matt Hardy was able to push Sammy Guevara into Luchasaurus, and Luchasaurus got the win. Very boring match, very standard, very disorganized. It really was not anything special whatsoever. It was just all over the place. It was very, very chaotic and not in a good way. These types of matches, I really wish that they would stay away from. But again, they're doing a 12-man tag next week. I don't even know why the fuck they're doing that. I can't expect that 12-man tag to be any better than this 10-man tag. But Jurassic Express, Best Friends, and Orange Cassidy, they get the win because of Matt Hardy. And Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara, they're picking up right where they left off. I could definitely see Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara facing off sometime down the line. Potentially at All Out. We'll see what happens. So, after that, after this very, very boring and disorganized tag team match, they actually started off on the wrong foot here. We went into Cody versus Warhorse for the TNT Championship. And again, you really got to respect the hell out of Cody and Tony Khan for being able to give all of these independent wrestlers work. Eddie Kingston actually just signed with All Elite Wrestling. So, good on them for signing Eddie Kingston. Good on them. So Cody and Warhorse. This is the first time I saw Warhorse, and I'm actually going to tell you right now, I'm actually very impressed with Warhorse. Only 10 minutes, but for what we got, I thought it was very good. I thought that Warhorse impressed. Warhorse is very, very fluid in the ring. Very, very fluid in the ring. A lot of these guys that they have been bringing in, like Ricky Starks and Warhorse, very, very fluid. I do have to say. So, Cody with a huge superplex. He took over control before Warhorse came back. Big double stomp to the back of Cody on the outside. Big diving elbow for a very close 2 count. Warhorse has a beautiful diving elbow. Shawn Michaels-like diving elbow. Then we had Warhorse getting caught in a figure 4, and Warhorse ended up tapping out. Afterwards, they looked to embrace. Shook hands, but Dark Order, John Silver and Alex Reynolds, they came out to attack Cody before Matt Cardona, yes, Matt Cardona, a.k.a. Zack Ryder, came out to take out Silver and Reynolds and save Cody. Matt Cardona looks in excellent shape. He is jacked, he is tan, he's got a thick brown beard. I want to be in as good a shape as Matt Cardona. I wish I had the motivation to get in shape like Matt Cardona. I really do. So, Matt Cardona and Cody, they're facing off against Silver and Reynolds next week. And I actually like that Cody's not defending the championship next week. Give him a little bit of a break. Dark Order attacked Cody. What does this mean? Based off of the fact that the Dark Order, they're facing off against the Elite in a 12-man tag. The Elite and FTR. The only member of the Elite that's not in that match is Cody. So, Cody's defending the TNT Championship. Based off of everything, I can definitely see Brody Lee challenging Cody for the TNT Championship at All Out, and I can definitely see Brody Lee winning. Brody Lee challenges Cody, and Brody Lee, I can definitely see Brody Lee winning the TNT Championship. I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. And Joseph Conlon of Big Fight Field, shout out to him. He actually called that, so I got to give him credit there. So then afterwards, we had Chris Jericho interrupting Tony Schiavone. We had Sammy called Matt Hardy a son of L bitch. So in 2 weeks, it'll be Jericho and Cassidy 2. And then next week, we're going to have a debate. Now this should be interesting. This should be funny as shit. Jericho challenged Cassidy to a debate, and there's going to be a special guest moderator. So then he leaned over to Santana and he asked, do I still smell like orange juice? So Santana goes, yeah, kind of smells like cat pee. So Jericho's pissed off. Santana, he's calm. And then Ortiz, he walked up to Tony Schiavone, and I don't even know what this was, but you can imagine that Ortiz came up with this shit on the spot. You can imagine that Ortiz came up with this shit on the spot. He walked up to Schiavone and got in his face, and he goes, like cat pee, Tony. I don't know what it is where Ortiz, you can imagine that he does not write this shit down. He does not rehearse this shit. You can imagine that Ortiz, I'm telling you, I fully believe that Ortiz does this shit. He does this shit on the fly. And it honestly reminds me of Stone Cold Steve Austin. He told everyone on his podcast not that long ago that him and Edge and Christian, they were buddies, and they would always try and make each other break kayfabe. So when Stone Cold Steve Austin was being crucified on The Undertaker's cross back during the Attitude Era, Edge and Christian got up in Stone Cold's face and they go, look at me. And Stone Cold Steve Austin was actually cracking a smile. And he talked about that in the podcast. And you could see during that angle at that time that he was actually starting to crack a smile. And I feel as though Ortiz is kind of doing the same thing. He's trying to make the people that he's working with break character. He's just a naturally funny guy. I wouldn't be able to keep a straight face if he did that to me. So FTR, they signed their contract. So on August 12th, it'll be Tag Team Appreciation Night. We had Arn Anderson and Hangman coming in, celebrating, and they toasted with some whiskey. They are really teasing the Four Horsemen. A revamped version of the Four Horsemen. It should be very, very interesting there. Dark Order versus Kenny Omega and Adam Page. This was probably the best match of the night. Matter of fact, this was the best match of the night. This was a great tag team title match, but I feel as though we got the wrong winners, and I'm going to explain why in just a minute. So we had some swift double team tag team moves by the champions. We had Evil Uno sending Hangman off the post. Grayson isolated Page. Page was on the receiving end of a lot of offense from the Dark Order, actually. Omega, he got the hot tag, big moonsault for a 2. Assisted German suplex to Evil Uno. Powerbomb to Grayson was reversed. Grayson took out Page, and we had a senton bomb for a near fall. Page saved the match off the powerbomb. We had a cannonball 450 combination. We had a cannonball to Hangman and a 450 to Omega by Grayson. But Omega still kicked out. That was a beautiful combination right there. We had Evil Uno getting powerbombed and V-triggered to the back, but Uno kicked out. And then we had the last call, the V-trigger buckshot combo. Grayson was not able to make it, and Grayson and Uno lose. The tag team champions retain the championships. Great match. Wrong winners. And I say that mainly because of the fact that Hangman and Kenny right now, if we had the Dark Order winning the championships, you could have sparked up the heel turn and you could have built towards All Out with Kenny and Hangman. But I feel as though maybe it's a little bit too early. Maybe they're trying to wait, mainly because of the fact that I do believe Hangman Page is going to be the one to take the title off of MJF when MJF eventually wins the title, but MJF's not losing the championship until next year. So I feel as though they're kind of biding their time with Hangman and Kenny. But still, I feel as though the Dark Order are probably the best team for Kenny and Hangman to drop the titles to. The Dark Order, they've been winning and winning and winning, and they're not yet established. If they were to beat a team like Kenny and Hangman, that would really put them on a pedestal, so to speak. But they didn't do that here. I mean, I'd like to believe that there is a bigger plan, but I can't help but feel as though they made the wrong decision here. I can't help but feel as though the Dark Order were the best possible team for Kenny and Hangman to lose the titles to. Now, who they face at All Out, I'm not sure. They could face Jurassic Express. They could face FTR. But if they face FTR, then FTR more than likely has to win. And FTR, they shouldn't be winning the championships this early. It's way too early for them. And I feel as though it's a little bit too predictable for FTR to take the titles off of Kenny and Hangman, and FTR starts up the feud between Kenny and Hangman. I feel as though it's way too predictable. The Dark Order winning the championships, that would have been a lot more unpredictable, and that would have actually elevated the Dark Order. But they didn't do that. I'd like to believe that there's a greater plan, but I just can't help but feel as though they made the wrong decision here. So Brody Lee, he took Colt Cabana to the back. He actually slapped Evil Uno. And then Brody said that the Dark Order's everywhere, and Paige pissed him off for the last time. And FTR came out to help the Elite, and that was that. So Britt Baker, she took the microphone and she said that she's going to give Big Swole a match with her if she can beat an opponent of her choosing. So I believe that she'll probably choose Rebel, or Reba, as she calls her. And we're going to get Rebel versus Big Swole, and then we're going to get Big Swole and Britt Baker at All Out. I really don't see Britt Baker or Big Swole advancing in the women's tag team tournament. I can definitely see Big Swole and Britt Baker facing off on the buy-in to All Out. Diamante versus Hakarushida is okay. It's okay, but Diamante, I feel as though she was out of position. This was a little sloppy here and there. Diamante was out of position. We had Shida getting caught up in the ropes at certain points in the match. Really sloppy at times. It wasn't bad, but I feel as though Diamante, she really does need a little bit more work. So we had Shida with a missile dropkick for a 2. Diamante, she took over control with some big chops. Wheelbarrow stunner. Diamante was able to kick out of a big vertical suplex by Shida. And then Shida eventually hit the Shining Wizard for the win. And that was that. I can definitely see Nyla Rose and Hikaru having a rematch at All Out 2. So the Women's Tag Team Tournament, the Deadly Draw, is going to start up on Monday on their YouTube channel at 7 p.m. before Raw. I'll be sure to watch that. Ariane Andrew, a.k.a. Cameron, from World Wrestling Entertainment, and Nyla Rose are teaming up. Last time I seen her, she was having one of the worst women's matches in history with Alexa Bliss. She actually got Alexa Bliss over as a babyface, because she's that sucky in the ring. I can only hope that Ariane Andrew is going to lose. Nyla Rose is going to beat the shit out of her in a match, and we are going to get Nyla Rose beating Ariane Andrew, and Ariane Andrew is never going to be seen again. And the only reason why Ariane Andrew and Abaddon and all of these shitty women's wrestlers, the only reason why they're being used is because of the fact that the women's roster is currently limited. And they want to get more eyes on the women's roster, and they want to bring in women from the areas around them, because half of their women's roster, like Shana and Riho and Yuka Sakazaki, those women who can actually wrestle, they're quarantined overseas. So obviously they need to actually build up a women's division. They need to build up a women's division that's going to be fluid. It's going to be filled with actual competition. But then again, just having women on the show for the sake of getting more depth in the women's division, meanwhile they're not even good wrestlers to begin with, it's really not a good motto. Realistically, that's the only reason why Abaddon is signed. Abaddon's only signed because of the simple fact that she has a crazy gimmick, and they need women to face off against Hikaru. And we're probably going to get Abaddon and Hikaru for the Women's Championship at some point. So MJF came out for his quote-unquote State of the Union address. This was literal perfection. Now, I did not take down everything that he said, but I could literally have watched this all day. This was legit perfection. I loved every single moment of this. So MJF came out. He said to use the hashtag MJF2020 and hashtag NotMyChampion. So, he said that AEW was supposed to be the land of opportunity. People were calling for change. One man specifically called for a paradigm shift. And right then and there, you knew who he was talking about. And MJF said that this has unfortunately turned into a dictatorship, and that's why Moxley is not my champion. He says that they have all been brainwashed to think that wrestling is all about a couple of guys coming out, diving and flip-flopping around to make you think that's professional wrestling. He said that he is not going to pretend like Moxley isn't one of the greatest wrestlers our sports has ever seen, but I think it's about time that someone acknowledged all the negatives since the Moxley reign began. He says that Moxley isn't supposed to be cosplaying as a specific wrestler, and that is a stone cold fact. Which obviously is a shot at Moxley, saying that he is a bootleg Stone Cold Steve Austin. He says that he has drawn more minute by minute than Dictator John. He has squandered opportunity, and that is why it is time for a changing of the guard. His talent outweighs his tenure, and that is why he is challenging Moxley at All Out, and he'll see him there. Literal perfection. I love MJF. MJF is your next world champion. Hands down. Now, they have an update next week. They have a 12-man tag next week. They have Cody and Matt Cardona versus the Dark Order. So MJF, he's continuing his build towards All Out, and he's more than likely going to be world champion. So MJF wins the world championship. Moxley is going into a feud with Lance Archer. More likely than not. Now I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do, but considering that Hangman more likely than not is going to be the one to take the title off of MJF, and that's not happening until mid-2021, MJF is going to need some top baby faces to feud with. You're not going to do heel versus heel, especially not with MJF. That dynamic doesn't work. Babyface versus babyface, now that's an interesting dynamic that works. But heel versus heel, that doesn't really work. The only heel that I would like to see MJF feud with is Chris Jericho, because Chris Jericho can make anything work. But right now, Chris Jericho's tied up in a feud with Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy, more likely than not, is going to beat Jericho on August 12th. Possibly setting up a rubber match, and Orange Cassidy is going to win the rubber match. If Orange Cassidy beats Chris Jericho twice, and Orange Cassidy continues to win, like he's been winning on AEW Dark, I don't know about you, but I can definitely see Orange Cassidy being an interim World Championship challenger for MJF. Possibly at Full Gear. I really wouldn't mind that. I mean, he can wrestle. He's got a great gimmick. And a babyface like that going up against a monster heel like MJF, it's really going to make people love Orange Cassidy even more. I can definitely see Orange Cassidy being an interim challenger for MJF. So, then we get the main event. Moxley and Darby versus Cage and Starks. Tornado tag team match. So Darby didn't come out immediately, but Moxley did. Taz took the microphone, says he's going to get bounced around the ring. So Starks cut a promo, which is actually very good. Ricky Starks is very, very confident on the microphone. He said that it's time to put Moxley down, something like that. And then when Cage and Starks came out, all you see is Darby diving with a coffin drop off of the tunnel, and then the match begins. So a brawl broke out. Starks and Cage, they targeted Moxley before Darby came in with a drop kick. We had a over the top rope stunner on Cage by Darby, cutter by Moxley on Starks, and a discus lariat on Cage, or by Cage rather. So Alabama slam to a Moxley on the trash can. We had Darby breaking up that. We had a beautiful tag team move where Darby and Moxley actually hit a coffin drop paradigm shift combination on Cage. But Starks was able to break that up. Darby targeted the arm of Cage. Darby actually got a skateboard with tacks on it. Moxley, he wrenched on the arm of Cage. He targeted the arm of Cage. And Darby with a skateboard with tacks to the back of Starks for the 1, 2, 3. Cage was not pinned. Cage was protected. I'm happy about that. And then we were graced with the announcement of Moxley and Darby for the World Championship next week. And I love that Moxley is getting one more title defense in there before he faces off against none other than MJF. Very fun main event. Damn good show, but again, it had its flaws. Some sloppiness here and there with the women. Ariana Andrew was terrible. Very, very boring and disorganized 10-man tag to kick off the show, but still, we had a damn good show nonetheless. And we got a very, very, very interesting World Championship match next week. NXT was actually an excellent show this week. NXT was the much better show this week. We had Io Shirai and Tegan Knox versus Dakota Kai and Candice LeRae kicking off the show. Kai, she attacked Sharaya immediately, and a brawl broke out before the match started. Sharaya with the quick offense to Dakota Kai. Kai and LeRae, they regained control going into commercial. We had Io Shirai getting the hot tag. Big palm strike to Candice. Missile dropkick to Kai for a 2 count. Tree of Woe double stomp in tribute to Kairi Sane. Suicide dive. Shining Wizard to Candice by Tegan Knox. And a moonsault for the win. Damn good women's tag team championship. Oh, not women's tag team championship. Damn good women's tag team match to start off the show. Dakota Kai was not pinned. Candice LeRae was pinned. Dakota Kai and her momentum has not been halted yet. Next week, we actually got a #1 contenders match between Dakota Kai and Rhea Ripley, where the winner goes on to face Io Shirai at TakeOver 30. And I believe that Dakota Kai is going to win that. They actually brought the Pat McAfee, Adam Cole situation to light, which was great stuff. Whether it was a work or not, I do believe it was a work. It was still great stuff. I can definitely see this being a nice little interim storyline between Pat McAfee and Adam Cole, just for the time being at least, until the Undisputed Era get called up to the main roster. I definitely wouldn't mind it. Roderick Strong versus Johnny Gargano. I could watch these two fight all night long. These two are fucking artists. Artists in the ring. Very good match right here. We had mat-based holds, swift back and forth offense and counters before Gargano targeted the left arm of Strong. We had a backbreaker by Strong. We had Gargano with a swinging flatliner for a 2. We had Strong with a mule kick to the jaw. They exchanged strikes back and forth, counter for counter, strike for strike. Hurricane Rana into the barricade by Gargano. Gargano sent Strong's shoulder first into the plexiglass, and then he hit one final beat for the win. Gargano continues his momentum, and Gargano, I do believe, is facing off against Finn Balor at NXT TakeOver 30. Very good match right here. We got some great wrestling on NXT this week. So, Kyle O'Reilly actually made his return. He returned to the Undisputed Era. I didn't think he was returning. I thought he was going to pull a Roman Reigns. I really thought he wasn't coming back until this pandemic is over. But apparently, he's back. And you know what? I'm very happy that he's back. So we had Schatzy Blackheart versus Mercedes Martinez. This was actually pretty damn good for only 5 minutes. Pretty decent for 5 minutes. I'm not sure if you guys got this vibe, but the way that Mercedes Martinez dresses and the way that she comes off, I'm not sure if you guys see this, but I can definitely see a new Shayna Baszler in Mercedes Martinez. I don't know about you guys, but that's definitely something that I was getting from just watching her. I see a new Shayna Baszler vibe. We had Schatzy with a shotgun dropkick, big code red for a 2, and a reverse sling blade. Discus elbow and a switchblade kick. Cannonball on the ropes. She actually was getting a lot of quick offense in the beginning portions of this match. We had a spine buster for a 2 on Schatzy. We had a big spider German suplex off the top by Martinez, and then an air raid crash for the win. Martinez wins clean. Based off of what happened, I can definitely see Martinez being built up for a potential NXT Women's Championship title opportunity, possibly against Io Shirai. She's not going to win, but I can definitely see her being built up for a title opportunity. Maybe she's Women's Champion by 2021. Who knows? That's a possibility. If Robert Stone can keep this serious attitude, if Robert Stone can keep this level of severity, maybe I wouldn't mind seeing him on TV. But I can only imagine that the reason why they're pairing Martinez with Stone is because they do have plans to push her. Ridge Holland is actually debuting next week. I've seen Ridge Holland in NXT UK. He's actually very intense. I can't really see him going anywhere, considering that there's just a lot of people ahead of him. And if he does go back to NXT UK, I can't really see him going anywhere unless they introduce a mid-card title to NXT UK, and they haven't shown any signs of doing so. But he's going to be facing Oney Lorcan and Damian Priest in a North American Championship ladder match qualifier. That's going to take place next week, along with the number 1 contenders match for the NXT Women's Championship. We actually got a stacked show next week. Next week, we also got the Undisputed Era taking on Imperium for the NXT Tag Team Championships. So, Keith Lee came out to address the NXT universe. Now, this was very, very, very interesting right here. This was some great stuff from Lee. So, Lee says he could talk all day about Dijak telling him no. And I like that he said Dijak, using his real name. So he says Dijak is a grown man, and he's going to be just fine. But he says that there's a man who thinks the sound of sand is the sound of a clock. He says that Cross has done so much extra bullshit to get his attention, and he's calling Cross out. Love the intensity from Keith Lee. So Cameron Grimes came out, and he says, all right, I'm going to attempt to speak like Cameron Grimes. So he goes, Dijakovic? Cross? What you should be talking about is Cameron Grimes. I'm sorry. If you want to, you can give me a dislike on the video for that. I'm sorry. But he said you should be talking about Cameron Grimes, and he's going to take the NXT title and go straight to the moon. What did you think was going to happen? So Keith Lee destroyed Grimes with a couple of body avalanches. Scarlett then appeared on stage. Grimes got powerbombed into oblivion as Scarlett watched, and then Karrion Kross actually came up on the screen with the camera just focusing on his eyes, and he goes, what kind of a man does nothing while his friend suffers? You do that, Lee. He says that you will either give him a rightful NXT championship match, that will be the easy way, or we can do this the hard way, and you don't want to know what that is because everyone will suffer. TikTok. So Lee then took the microphone and says, you want to talk about choices? Pick the time, pick the place, and I'll whoop that ass. This was an excellent segment. Everyone played their roles beautifully. Scarlett, Lee, Cross, hell, even Cameron Grimes played a great role in this. I will stick by what I said. It is still way too fucking early for Karrion Kross. There's no reason why he should be getting an NXT championship match. Way too fucking early. I am thoroughly convinced that Vince McMahon is behind this push. You're not going to be able to convince me otherwise. But, this was an excellent segment. The build towards this match has been great. The build towards this match has been flawless. I have been loving everything that they have been doing with this match, with Keith Lee, with Karrion Kross. Everyone is playing their roles perfectly. Still too early, but I can't wait to see what they do. So we got Imperium versus Everrise. Very academic showcase for Imperium. European Bomb for the win. They took the mic, but the Undisputed Era attacked, and that was it. So Undisputed Era and Imperium, they're facing off against each other next week with the titles on the line. Hopefully now we can get more of a focus on the tag team championships. We had Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Jake Atlas. Jake Atlas is very, very bland, but this is actually a very good match for what it was. Jake Atlas and Isaiah Swerve Scott, they actually work very, very well together. We had Atlas springboard blockbuster for a 2. We had Atlas getting a punt kick and a headlock driver in on Swerve. Swerve with a deadlift German and a jumping flatliner for a 2. Atlas with an avalanche Death Valley driver from the middle rope, but Swerve still kicked out. Swerve then had Atlas hanging upside down on the outside by the ropes. Swerve with a brutal house call while Atlas was hanging upside down. He threw him back into the ring, and then Swerve hit the JML driver for the win in a very, very good match. I can definitely see Swerve challenging Santos Escobar for the championship, possibly at TakeOver 30, considering NXT, they have not showcased tag team wrestling in a important aspect in months, probably since WrestleMania weekend. So, then we had Dexter Loomis versus Finn Balor versus Timothy Thatcher. This was actually a damn good North American Championship match qualifier. Loomis, he was watching from the beginning as Thatcher and Balor went after each other. Loomis, he did a tope over the top rope, and he landed on his feet, and he looked at Balor and Thatcher, and Thatcher was like, what the fuck is this guy made of? I have absolutely nothing bad to say about Dexter Loomis. Dexter Loomis is so great. He's so fluid. And the best part about it is his body mannerisms and his offense, it goes so well with his character. When you take a look at Abaddon and you take a look at Dexter Loomis and his character, that works well together. The offense is still crisp, it's still fluid, it's still intense, but Abaddon and her sloppy, disorganized offense, it doesn't fit in this modern wrestling world. I don't give a shit if it's because of her character. Your character needs to have intense, crisp, believable offense. Dexter Loomis has that. Abaddon does not. I wonder how many people are going to rage because I've been shitting on Abaddon this entire fucking show. So Thatcher was in control, working on the legs of Loomis. Loomis came back with a bulldog. Pele kicked to Loomis. Balor got taken out by Thatcher. Big spine buster by Loomis. Coup de grace on Loomis, but Balor could not capitalize in time as Thatcher broke up the pin. And Loomis locked in the silence. The head and arm triangle choke. Thatcher passed out. And I like that Thatcher passed out. He did not tap out. It went along with his character. Thatcher passed out. He didn't tap out. And Dexter Loomis is going to take over. Dexter Loomis, he could be your next North American champion, and I would not have a problem with it whatsoever. This was an excellent episode of NXT. Definitely better than Dynamite. But Dynamite was still a damn good show, but NXT was definitely the better show this week. Smackdown, I'm actually quite shocked. Smackdown was actually not that bad. It still wasn't an overwhelmingly good show, but it was still watchable, somewhat. So, we had the Firefly Funhouse kicking off the show. Bray said that Braun has what he wants. He meaning the Fiend. And none of you are safe. And that was how SmackDown started. And then we got into an Intercontinental Championship match between AJ Styles and Gran Metalik. This was very, very good. They told a damn good story in this match, and it did what it needed to do. AJ Styles continues his reign as the Intercontinental Champion, putting on very, very good matches. This was his third title defense this month. So Styles, was on the receiving end of a Hurricane Rana by Grand Metalik off the apron going into commercial. Styles worked on the left leg of Grand Metalik. That became the story of the match. We had a roll-through, swinging DDT by Metalik for a 2. Big missile drop kick for a 2 again. Styles with the swift, intense strikes. Big clothesline. Styles missed the phenomenal forearm. Styles then shot blocked Metalik as he was coming off the middle rope out of the air, which looked great. Styles then locked in the calf crusher and Metalik taps out. Styles then gave a Styles Clash to Lince Dorado. This was a damn good Intercontinental Championship match. It did what it needed to do. Metalik and Styles, they worked very, very well together, although Styles works well together with anyone. Styles right now, he's probably been the best thing on SmackDown as the Intercontinental Champion. Styles has been the best thing on SmackDown throughout the entire summer so far. Styles is doing some great things as Intercontinental Champion. I don't know what he does for SummerSlam. They could do Big E. They could do Jeff Hardy. Although I don't think Big E would be the proper opponent for him this early because Big E just began his singles run. So I would definitely go with Hardy, considering that Hardy just beat Sheamus, and Hardy actually has a legitimate case as to why he should be challenging for the Intercontinental Championship because he beat Sheamus in the opening round of the tournament. But Sheamus then took him out. Sheamus then took him out, and he got taken out of the tournament. So it wouldn't really make too much sense. It wouldn't really make too much sense for Hardy not to get a rightful shot at the Intercontinental Championship after he just dispatched of Sheamus, and he was never technically eliminated in the tournament. So I wouldn't mind Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles. That is definitely SummerSlam worthy, and that would definitely make the card worthy of being dubbed SummerSlam. So Chad Gable and Baron Corbin, they had a run-in backstage, and Corbin said that Gable is overlooked and Gable is ignored. The King's Court is open to anyone. And that actually came into effect later. So Hardy came out to address his bar fight with Sheamus, said that Sheamus has been a reminder of how dangerous his demons can be. He says that he is now on the right path, and he is grateful to be alive and well. Baron Corbin comes out and he says that he gets it, your life sucks, and he feels like SmackDown is turning into an insane asylum before Gulak came out and he attacked Corbin going into commercial. Match started during the commercial. Corbin locked in a half crab before Gulak reversed it into the yes lock. Gulak with the drop kicks, flying clothesline for a 2. Deep 6 by Corbin, and Matt Riddle's music hit. Corbin was caught up with Riddle. Corbin looked like an idiot. Gulak tried for the win, and he still couldn't get the win. End of days, and Corbin beats Gulak. That's exactly what WWE thinks of Gulak. That he couldn't even get the win because of Riddle's distraction. So Riddle then attacked, but Chad Gable came out of nowhere with a vicious German suplex on Riddle, and Corbin and Gable leave together. I'm indifferent to this partnership because there's good and there's bad. Obviously, Chad Gable getting TV time is good because he is way too good to just waste away in catering. He is one of the most underrated talents that the company has. I'm glad that he's getting TV time, and on top of that, the show needs tag teams because of the simple fact that the New Day's injured, Usos are injured, Miz and Morrison are jokes, they're enhancement talents. All you have is Heavy Machinery and the Lucha House Party to go up against Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura. And it looks like we're going to get the Lucha House Party taking on Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura, which I'm happy for. I'm happy that they're getting some attention, but it's not like they're going to build them up over the course of the next few weeks for them to be looked at as credible challengers. I mean, come on. You're really going to build them up in 3 weeks? We're probably going to get a number 1 contenders match next week between them and Miz and Morrison, and then the Lucha House Party's going to win. Just watch. So, the show needs tag teams, and I have no problem with that. Gable and Corbin in a tag team. Show needs tag teams, and Gable getting TV time is good, but at the same point in time, this King gimmick is one of the worst acts in pro wrestling right now. This King gimmick is something that has hampered down Baron Corbin immensely. Ever since they got rid of the Lone Wolf gimmick and he became the Constable in mid-2018, Baron Corbin has been one of the worst things about WWE TV. And now we have this King's Court. A King's Court's not needed. This King gimmick isn't needed. It's an outdated concept. A lot of things that WWE are doing are outdated. 50-50 booking, outdated. Mid-match distractions, outdated and overdone. The King gimmick is outdated. I mean, you may as well change WWE to WOE, World Outdated Entertainment, or OWE, Outdated Wrestling Entertainment. So much shit that WWE's doing is so fucking outdated. It's ridiculous. So I don't know how I feel about this. I really don't know how I feel about it. I want to give it a chance. Because, again, show needs tag teams, and Gable being on TV is good, but at the same point in time, the King gimmick sucks. Baron Corbin, again, is one of the worst things about WWE TV. He doesn't even get legit heel heat. He gets go-away heat. I don't even know where this is leading to. Now, a match between Gable and Riddle could be great, but still. Big E versus The Miz. This went way too long. This went way, way too long. And on top of that, The Miz, I don't even know what happened with The Miz. I'm not sure what's going on with The Miz, but he's regressed so much in the ring. His fluidity's fine. He can execute moves fine, but oh my god, his offense just looks so weak. He's fucking weak. I'm not sure what's going on with The Miz, but he has no intensity. He doesn't make a sound. He doesn't have any credibility behind him. He's weak. The Miz is a weak professional wrestler. The fact that Big E had to sell for him is ridiculous. I'm sorry. The Miz, I'm not sure what is it they need to do, but The Miz needs to find some intensity. Big E's vastly underrated, and I'm glad that Big E's getting this opportunity. I'm glad that Big E won. Big E's vastly underrated, but Miz and Morrison, they are glorified enhancement talents, and it sucks, because if they actually develop a sense of severity, if they were booked with a sense of severity, they could be a solid hand in the tag team division. Morrison is great, but The Miz, I am not sure what happened with The Miz, but he is so fucking weak when he delivers his moves. He may have the weakest moveset in all of WWE right now. He honestly reminds me of Alexa Bliss. Because it honestly looks like he's half-assing everything in the ring. Big E wins with a stretch muffler, which I actually did not mind. Big E winning with the stretch muffler actually looks pretty good. So, Nakamura and Cesaro, they were celebrating their tag team title when Lucha House Party came in and they mocked Lucha House Party for Metalik loss, and that was that. So I can assume that the Lucha House Party is being built up to face off against Cesaro and Shinsuke. So Sheamus says that Jeff Hardy is not his problem anymore. He was interviewed backstage. Now he's the SmackDown locker room's problem, which is bad news for everyone. I could definitely see Sheamus feuding with Big E. I could definitely see Sheamus feuding with Matt Riddle. I would actually love to see Sheamus and Big E potentially down the line. I think that would be a great match. So, then we had Lacey Evans and Naomi. Where do I even begin with Lacey Evans? Oh my god. Lacey Evans is one of the worst women's wrestlers on the planet. Period. The fact that she has been on the main roster for over a year, she has shown zero improvement. I don't even know what to tell you. Lacey Evans is an absolute cancer. She is a cancer to the women's division. Plain and simple. The fact that some people have the actual audacity to say that she's improved, my God, you are undoubtedly the dumbest fucks on the planet. You are dumber than a fucking fruit fly if you're telling me that Lacey Evans is getting better. Lacey Evans, she botched what looked to be a Canadian destroyer to the outside. I'm not sure if it was a Canadian destroyer or a sunset flip powerbomb, but she was out of position so many fucking times in this match. She is so fucking sloppy. Her timing has not improved whatsoever. Matter of fact, her timing has actually gotten worse. Naomi wins with a roll-up. Great. How long is this Naomi push going to last? Guarantee you she faces Bayley at SummerSlam, and then she's taken off of television. This was I'm not even going over what happened in the match. I'm not even going over it. So, Mandy Rose, she was talking to Otis about a proper date. They were booking a date at Otis's favorite steak place. Sonya was watching in the background, and then Sonya actually attacked Mandy Rose while she was getting her makeup done. She was screaming, "What are you going to have now? What do you have now?" She was smearing the lipstick all over Mandy Rose's face. Then she took the scissors and started cutting Mandy Rose's hair. Then Sonya was about to buzz cut Mandy Rose's hair with an actual razor before referees showed up and they held back Sonya Deville. Miz and Morrison were being interviewed and they were making hair jokes before Heavy Machinery sent them running away. And that was that. Now this entire attack was very well done. Sonya Deville is playing her role beautifully, and this feud actually took a very interesting step. But again, I need to ask, why are they still feuding after Mandy Rose already lost to Sonya Deville twice? Sonya Deville beat Mandy Rose twice. It's over. Why are they still feuding? Sonya Deville already proved her point against Mandy Rose. And the only reason that I can think of is the fact that WWE literally has nothing else for these women. And it goes to show you how shitty creative really is. Vince McMahon literally has nothing else for these women. Now, there were rumors of a hair versus hair match taking place at SummerSlam. Now, I do not want to see that whatsoever. Matter of fact, it does not belong in modern day wrestling. Hair versus hair is soap opera, sports entertainment bullshit, and sports entertainment is a dead facade that people have been brainwashed to think apparently belongs in professional wrestling. Hair versus hair does not belong in modern day wrestling. I do not want to see another hair versus hair match in WWE again. That's another thing that is outdated and it needs to be abolished. It needs to be taken off of television forever. Do not want to see a hair versus hair match. No one should want to see a hair versus hair match. If you do, you're the fucking problem with the community. If you want to make this feud intense and you actually want to make this feud interesting and you want to have Sonya Deville leave Mandy Rose as ugly on the outside as she is on the inside, why not book a Falls Count Anywhere match? Why not book a No Holds Barred match? Why not book a last woman standing match at SummerSlam? All three of those ideas are a hell of a lot better than hair versus hair. So that was pretty much that. Then we get Bayley versus Nikki Cross for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Decent match right here. Pretty much nothing that we've already seen at Extreme Rules. Bayley was tossed rib first into the post, which looked brutal there. Bayley was selling the shit out of that. Big crossbody to the floor. Nikki with a tornado DDT for a 2. Back and forth counters, roll-ups for roll-ups. Bayley eventually hit the arm trap driver for the win. Decent match here. Bayley retains the championship clean, as she should. And Nikki then shoved Alexa and left. And I actually thought that Alexa was going to turn heel on Nikki Cross. I actually thought that they're currently building Alexa and Nikki Cross to turn, or Alexa and Nikki Cross to break up, which they should break up. They should have never been a tag team to begin with, because Alexa Bliss is a fucking cancer to the women's division. But now they're starting to break up Alexa and Nikki, thank Christ. Get Nikki away from Alexa. But I actually thought that that was it, and they were going to end the show on that. I was actually expecting Alexa to fully turn heel, but the lights then went out. The Fiend then appeared right behind Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss was frozen in fear. He knelt down by Bliss, and he was looking right into Alexa Bliss's eyes. Alexa Bliss didn't want to turn because she was scared shitless. And then he put his hand out. He put his hand out. He started wiggling his fingers. And then he slowly started itching his hand towards Alexa Bliss. And he was teasing it. He was teasing doing the mandible claw. And he finally did it. Locked in the mandible claw on Alexa Bliss. And the show faded to black with the image of the Fiend putting the mandible claw in on Alexa Bliss. Fiend just became my new favorite wrestler. Fuck Johnny Gargano. Fuck Kenny Omega. Fuck Karrion Kross. Fuck Keith Lee. Fuck Adam Cole. Fuck Seth Rollins. Fuck Rey Mysterio. Fuck Aleister Black. The Fiend just became my new favorite wrestler for that alone. That alone, the Fiend putting the mandible claw on Alexa Bliss alone gets a thumbs up from me. And the show's great already. Now, what does this mean? I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if they're going to continue with the... I'm not sure if they're going to continue with the Nikki Cross Alexa Bliss storyline. I'm not sure if Alexa Bliss is going to be taken off of television. I'm not sure if Alexa Bliss is going to become Sister Abigail. My guess is the reason why they did this is because The Fiend, or Bray Wyatt, Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt, Mr. Rogers Bray Wyatt, said, and I quote, "No one is safe." So this could be a case of The Fiend just doing whatever the fuck he wants and attacking whoever the fuck he wants until Braun Strowman gives him a Universal Championship match at SummerSlam. This could be a case of The Fiend targeting a person that Braun has history with. Because Alexa Bliss and Braun, they have history in the shittiness that was the Mixed Match Challenge. So that's a possibility there. But ultimately, I don't really know where this is going to result in. I'm not sure if they're going to continue Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. I'm not sure if Alexa Bliss is going to show up next week. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure if Alexa Bliss is truly going to become Sister Abigail. But I can only imagine, again, this is mainly The Fiend targeting anyone that he fucking wants until Braun Strowman eventually gives him a Universal Championship match at SummerSlam. And that's that. So, 205 Live. Last show before we get out of here. I know you guys want to get out of here. Arya Daivari announced that he is coming back to 205 Live. Arya Daivari is actually very underrated. I actually am very excited to see him. This is a one-match show. We had Tony Nese and Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Legado del Fantasma. This was actually a very, very good tag team match right here. Swerve and Nese were working very well together. They were in control before Wilde and Mendoza regained the advantage with swift double team moves to Tony Nese. Or, not Tony Nese, Isaiah Swerve Scott. Tony Nese came in with a big boot spinning heel kick. Pump handle power slam for a 2. Nese with a Frankensteiner to Wilde. Wilde was on the receiving end of Swerve's big German suplex and a house call, but Wilde kicked out. We had a stereo Fosby flop combination by Nese and Scott. Double stomp to Mendoza for a close 2 count broken up by Wilde. Scott was then shoved off the top rope to the barricade when Santos Escobar came up on the apron and distracted the ref. And then we had a code breaker by Wilde to Nese and a Russian leg sweep enziguri combo for the win. Very good tag team match right here. Legado del Fantasma looks strong as ever. Legado del Fantasma looked legit as ever. Nese was pinned. Swerve was not pinned. I can imagine that this is going to be a nice bridge to get Swerve into a potential Cruiserweight Championship match, hopefully at TakeOver 30. And ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of the Lightning Flash Update. Over 2 hours, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into this video, and I will drink to you. Man. I'm going to go home, probably looking for some sliders. Speaking of which, I actually had a great burger last night at Dutch House in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. Oh my God, my friend Michael, shout out to him. He would not lie to me. He knows. That was a really good burger. But I'm starving right now. I'm going to go get some lunch. I'm going to go eat some food, check my schedule. I'll keep you guys updated on all collaborations. Thank you, as always. Ladies and gentlemen, check out all the likes in the description. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm DJ Storms, the greatest of all time, the Antichrist of the IWC, and this has been the Lightning Flash Update. I will catch you guys real soon.